Welcome to Photo Op, the podcast where we talk about all things photo. I'm Ben Lucas.
And I'm Stuart Merlantis.
And this is the Photo Opinion Show. Excellent. So, season 2 here in our studio, we are starting every episode with a listener question.
Yes, we are.
So, the listener question today. Tune in next week for the next listener question. Okay. The listener question today, Sandy asks, how do you find balance with life and photography?
You don't. Moving on.
You don't. All photography, all the time. That's actually, people are like, wow, you got really good. I'm like, I literally didn't do anything else for 2 years. Mm-hmm. I was breathing and dreaming photography to the point where Trina would poke me awake and be like, you were talking about Photoshop in your sleep again.
Sounds about right.
Legit. So, yeah, you don't. If you figure it out, let us know.
Yeah, we are not the right people to talk to about
Not
that.
at all. Not at all. So today's episode, we are talking about what other skills help you be a better photographer.
Mm-hmm.
Or rather, what skills that are not photography help you be a better photographer.
Yeah, I feel like this is the only silver bullet I have to get any sort of media work is just my other skills.
I mean, that's valid.
Just being a generalist.
That I think you've gotten your last, if I count them right, 3 or 4 jobs by just being a magical unicorn of generalist.
Yeah, just do everything slightly bad and and you're golden.
No, on the D&D scale of if 10's a peasant, you just have to be at least an 11.
Exactly. Just be an 11 in all things. And you'll be good.
There you go. No, so I came up with a couple of things that I think definitely help. The easy softball one is graphic design.
Yeah, definitely. This is something that, again, as I continue to say, I don't feel like I'm that good in, but it's something that I've done a decent amount of and I do more of all the time. It's very, this seems obvious, but like it includes so many of the same things. Like you're really thinking artistically, you're thinking about layouts, you're thinking about where people's eyes are moving through a graphic or image or layout. Yeah, I mean, it potentially relies on some text and some other things that you don't see in a photo.
Color and hierarchy,
exactly.
And all these different kinds of things.
Visual balance, that sort of stuff is very, very helpful for sure.
Yeah. And the beautiful thing about graphic design is everything is contrived. Everything is created by you. There is no, well, that's what I had to work. I hear that complaint a lot from new photographers of how come this photo is blank. And it's like, well, this was the best I could do under the circumstances. And while if you're a journalist, I commend you for dealing with those circumstances. As an artiste, no one gives a crap. Like either you get the result or you don't.
That's why landscape photographers like come back to the same mountain for years before they like take the shot that is perfect that they envisioned.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like nobody cares until you have that shot.
Absolutely. So graphic design, a general art appreciation, very easy softball.
Would you say that studio photography is the graphic design of photography because you control everything?
I mean, yeah, when you work in that's the one thing with product photography. Like they don't sass back. They give you exactly the emotion that you ask of them. Product photography, you are 100% in control. You're not like, well, they weren't really cooperating with me. If your product's not cooperating with you, that's your fault.
Yep. So there you go. If you're a graphic designer, start with product photography.
I mean, there you go. Product photography is very graphical and compositional. So that's, I know you were saying it with snark, but that's actually good advice.
It is. One of the things that I took in college just kind of errantly, and it turned out to be very useful for me in many ways, but especially in photo and video work, is 3D modeling. It is a little bit more subtle, but one of the things that I really liked about 3D modeling is it just kind of flexes your ability to think out of space, think out of in this case, a virtual, but a physical environment, where stuff is placed, what it looks like from all sorts of different angles. And when you're rendering, especially if you're adding like light sources and stuff, you're kind of building I mean, you're sort of building a photo scene, so to
It's
speak.
studio photography,
Yeah,
but
it's studio photography, but the next level beyond. No,
but without a camera.
No, I'm not gonna offend graphic designers by saying that 3D modeling is the next level beyond. But it does actually, you do actually think about, depending on the modeling you're doing, think about light, think about how it plays on the subject, what it looks like, what's flattering, what's too flat, what adds the right amount of drama depending on what you're modeling, especially people that are like, I've only done really like hard modeling, but people who do like soft organic models, like they're probably just amazing photographers out of the gate because they can like picture exactly how light looks on a face or on an organic subject. Like that's really impressive stuff. So I was never that good. But even if you're doing hard modeling, you can do some, it really gets you in the headspace of
Please
how
define
light works.
hard modeling for those listeners out there / me who don't know what it is.
So what I mean by hard modeling is it's all constrained. It's all like it's all very engineer. Like you're working from plans. So
like geometric shapes.
It's very geometric shapes. Often you're building from like you take a rectangle and you use another shape to literally like slice a piece out of it to make that rectangle into a different shape. You're all working with like basic shapes and either like using them to slice each other or constrain each other in a certain way. And if you do it right, they're kind of mathematically perfect almost, in that they all have exactly all of the shapes in the piece all contribute to a greater whole, and they all kind of are related to each other's dimensions. So it's very, that kind of stuff is very commonly used for like making actual physical objects in real life. So making like parts for a truck, let's say. But it tends to be not always the most externally artistic looking thing. Like if you're looking at it from a modeler's perspective, you're like, wow, this would have taken forever to make. But really the real art modelers are the organic modelers.
Gotcha.
And they work more
and the
in like
organic
clay.
modelers are more like I built this creature in Blender.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And they work more in a clay instead of like blocks that you're putting together and cutting chunks out of. Organic modelers often work in something that literally looks like clay on the screen, like it's a blob of clay, and they actually shape it and mold it. Yeah, that's amazing stuff. I have no ability to do that whatsoever. I've tried and I'm like, everything looks terrible.
Well, I haven't done any 3D modeling. That's a lie. I've done some, but it was just roofs. Yeah. I don't think that counts.
Yeah. But it can teach you to the interesting angle to 3D modeling is, I feel like to some degree, unlike graphic design, you get to play with light more, which I think is very useful for photography.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Speaking of playing with light, the next thing would be any amount of physics or engineering knowledge that you have that definitely makes you a better photographer, because if you look at a photo and go, wow, that they look really great, I wonder how they did it. I can, without seeing the set at all, I can get with a fairly high degree of accuracy a layout of how the photographer did it. Maybe the photographer used a giant silk and like a bronze color head instead of a window. Like there are going to be these kind of aspects that they get wrong, that I might get wrong. But I can say with a certainty they used a warm colored light of this size from this direction, slightly in front of the model. Is it wrapping around? Is it direct? Like which way was that light tilted? All of these different things you can tell from not only the quality of the shadows, but the catch lights. And there are so many things that with a basic understanding of physics and engineering and kind of how light works, I honestly feel like photography is all about the light, and the more that you understand the physics of how light works, the better of a photographer you're going to be. Like it just is.
Mm-hmm. I feel like speaking of light, I feel like one of the things that I'm doing right now, I recently moved into a new house and I've been thinking about light a lot, as in literal light in a physical space. I feel like interior designers probably make fantastic photographers because
True.
you have to think about it so much. Like, we can't have this Kelvin color of light in here and this other one here because they clash, or we need to have this be the visual like center of the room, and it's not if you do these things with light, or if you place things in a certain way, you can break up the sight lines. I mean, interior designers are probably amazing photographers. Unfortunately, I don't know any, but I bet they are.
I was gonna say, but there's even this I forgot to turn on the spotlight to the photo behind you. That's my bad. I know. Yeah. We'll turn it on next episode. but there is definitely something to be said for color temperature and placement of is this light placed? It might not be optimal for spread of a room, but it might be aesthetic for the room, and then you need more lights. When you talk about Kelvin and like color temperature, there is the kind of gross orange of it being way too incandescent, but if you flip too far to the scale, you can make it feel like a hospital.
Yeah.
So there's
really blue.
So there's that kind of sweet space. Then everyone's sweet space is gonna be slightly different, but 3,200 looks bad. 7,000 looks bad. There's going to be somewhere in there that suits your taste, but that also might change based on like what are the other colors in the room that are soaking up and reflecting this light.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, there's stuff where the actual material that you're, in this case, if you're shooting a photo of it, where the material absorbs some light better than others. The house that I'm in has a lot of warm tones. There's a lot of like exposed wood in it, and that looks very different depending on what color temperature light you're throwing at it. So
then my white concrete walls would. Like you're going to need a different color temperature on your log cabin walls than I'm going to need on my white concrete for them to both have the same kind of inviting quality.
Exactly.
I imagine that you can get away with a lot whiter.
I can, yeah. So I've been testing that. It actually really
or
handy.
Rather blue.
Yeah, exactly. It's really handy to have some photographic equipment already, having bought a house, because I can take color tunable lights and point it at something and be like, all right, what does this color temperature look like before I buy anything? What does this color temperature look like? So but you can, because it absorbs warm colors.
Yeah.
Like you can soak it with blue almost, and it still looks pretty warm.
I've got a rack of lights above our head that's lighting us right now because I'm lazy. I don't want to set up lighting equipment. I want our lighting to be ready to go. I just wanted this studio when we set up had one sad incandescent light bulb that was supposed to light this whole 700 square foot garage. No, I don't think so. So I set up 10 huge strip lights instead, but there was a question of just like, what color do I make these? Do I make them technically accurate? Do I make them a little warm and inviting? Because I use this not just for this podcast and for photography, but I use it for client meetings. So when someone walks in here, it needs to feel warm and inviting and comfortable. And it's just, how do I strike that perfect balance? It's important questions that you have to ask yourself.
The secret answer is overpay for tons of hue lights, and then you can just color tune them all day. And you're like, oh no, I made a mistake. Just kidding. Actually, this is now 5,000 Kelvin.
I think actually all of the lights that we are in right now, I believe, are 6,000. So I aimed slightly on the white side because I didn't want this to feel like a garage. I wanted it to feel like an industrial studio in New York loft, which means that the white walls need to look white. I don't want it to look hospital white, but I wanted it to look clean and like bright. And I feel like having a clean, bright space, even if it's a little bit of a mess, as long as the mess is, someone works here, then that's valid.
This is a look into the mind of photographers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Light. In any situation.
There are, you know what? I'm adding this to the episode list. We're going to talk about all the things that I've done in my studio just for vanity.
Sweet.
Just because I'm a photographer. Anyway.
So interior design. Neither of us are trained interior designers, unless Ben has been keeping secrets from me.
Nope, not at all.
So, but you.
Well, I studied architecture for 3 years. Does that count?
Oh, actually, kinda. I mean, I haven't studied architecture, but maybe there you go. Maybe we have a future in interior design due to our photography. Maybe these are two-way streets, huh?
Look at that.
And there we go.
I definitely have one last one,
All right.
and it is not going to be for the reason that you think it is. Marketing. Now, you're going to think like, of course, marketing makes you a better photographer because if you learn marketing, you'll make more money.
Yeah.
No, that is not. I'm not. Let's say that you are a hobbyist who has absolutely zero interest in selling a photo ever. Marketing is still a useful skill because when you learn marketing, what is it that you are actually learning? What you're learning is how some target demographic, your audience, is going to respond to a thing. Are they going to do something logically? Are they going to do something emotionally? If they're going to do some, and by the way, the answer is always emotional. Always. The only thing that you do logically is when you're buying like rice or like soap or something. You just like, oh, that one is 2 cents cheaper than that one. Done. Everything else we do emotionally. And if you can understand kind of what makes people tick, and marketing is not exactly how to manipulate those emotions, but it kind of is. It kind of is. I would say that ethical marketing is more about how do you align the thing you're trying to sell with the consumer who wants it so that everyone is happy. Unethical marketing is how do I get those emotions in my favor. But if you learn about kind of what makes people tick and kind of how to trigger those emotions, the best photography makes you feel something. And I'm not just talking about like war journalism or any of these things that are kind of have that emotion built into the subject matter. Even as something as simple as like a actor's headshot. Like, okay, so an actor's headshot is just a pretty face, right? No. Who is the target demographic? The target demographic for an actor's headshot is a casting director. What is a casting director looking for? Well, the casting director wants someone with range, and they want someone with confidence, and they want someone who looks approachable and inviting. So there are all these things that's going through their head, and with the kind of expression that you want to get out of the actor and the way that you do your lighting, you want to convey these things and kind of click and align with the kind of emotions that they're having or looking for, that when they feel that emotion, I want to call this guy in for an audition.
Well, and I've known some actors, like, casting directors obviously want to imagine who they're casting in the role to make that decision. And I've known a number of actors, and a lot of them have multiple headshots with different moods.
Depending on what role. Absolutely.
So they can send that specific one in so that it has the right emotion, it informs the casting director in the correct way, and then hopefully they get the role.
Absolutely. So, learn marketing, or if you want to get less about marketing, I would say learn psychology.
Yeah, actually.
Honestly.
For sure.
So I feel like those are the things that will just make you a better photographer, even if you're a product photographer. Because if you learn psychology, you'll learn what do different colors make people feel. What does a wide angle photo make someone feel versus a telephoto. Thank you.
Telephoto photo.
A telephoto photo. Yeah, that's why that one was so tricky. Yes, because a wide angle photo could either make the subject look big and powerful, or it could make you as a viewer feel small and claustrophobic. Like there are all these different things that it could convey.
Or it can make a dog's nose look really big.
Or it can make a dog nose look really big. But yeah, learning either marketing or like psychology. It just having more emotional photos will make you a better photographer.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, there you go.
We got to get learning.
Gotta get learning. So Stuart, let's go learn some things, and then we'll come back next week. What do you say?
Sounds good. Always be learning.
Always be learning. All right. So if you want to follow us, we'll just do a few little shout outs before we wrap it up here.
Shill time.
Shill time. This episode is sponsored by me. It's always sponsored by me. We don't have sponsors. We're not sellouts yet. If you'd like to be a sellout, email us. Next time we are going to talk about kind of what is a good photographer. How do you define that?
Yeah, we talked about what can help make a good photographer. Now we're going to talk about what is
it's
a good
Galaxy
photographer.
Brain time next week. But yeah, you can also support the show on Patreon, patreon.com/nomcreative, which is the same as my YouTube channel, where if you're listening to the audio version, you can also see our bright shining faces. And if you want to send in your questions, the email is in the outro
at photoshop.show, and also in the outro in 3,
2, 1. If you have questions or ideas for future episodes, you can email us at hello@photo-op.show.
Watch us on Ben's YouTube channel at nomcreative,
as in om nom nom,
share this with a friend, and you can listen to Photo Op anywhere podcasts are sold.
or download it, because it's free.